want to thank you for joining us on this wonderful Friday as we continue our study of the seven churches of Revelation, or the seven churches of Asia Minor. Today we're in the second chapter of the book of Revelation, and we're in verse number 9, the second part, or the last part of verse number 9. Jesus is writing one of the most beautiful love letters to this church at Smyrna. The church at Smyrna, Jesus had nothing bad to say about it. But the church at Smyrna is under tremendous persecution. The persecution is so vicious. Can you imagine being held in a cell with a group of other believers? And then all of a sudden they come and they say, okay, you, and you, you're going to go to the lions today. And they would sometimes put them out into this big arena, and they would let the lions go, and the lions would tear their flesh. Sometimes they would hang them from a net, and the lions and the bears would leap up and grab them and grab their flesh. Can you imagine how vicious that would be? Well, Jesus is writing to these believers. And in verse number 9, at the end of the thing, he said, "The blasphemy by those who say they are Jews and yet are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan." Now Jesus is saying to the church, I see you. I see what you're going through. I know what you're going through. I know it by seeing it. I'm watching you. And then he's saying, I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews. The blasphemy. What is blasphemy? It means to speak evil. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had someone speak evil of you? Well, here we see that people are speaking evil of the church at Smyrna, speaking evil of those who are believers, and they call themselves Jews. In other words, they call themselves one of God's people. But John is letting us know that these people really are not following God. Jesus is saying, I see what they're doing to you. I see how they're blaspheming you, how they're speaking evil about you, how they're speaking evil about me. And he said, I want you to understand, these are not God's people. These people are from the synagogue of Satan. Wow. Jesus is letting, he's letting the people at Smyrna know that these are not God's people. God's not doing this to you. These people that are doing this to you, that are blaspheming you, that are speaking evil about you, they're from the synagogue of Satan. I think that must have brought relief. Can you imagine being Jewish yourself, but then converting to Christianity, and all of a sudden all the people you used to go to the synagogue with are now blaspheming you and speaking evil of you? Can you imagine the fight, the quarrel that's going on the inside of them? And Jesus is saying, no, those people are not from me. They're from the synagogue of Satan. And then Jesus goes on into verse 10, and he says this. He says, do not fear what you are about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to cast some of you into prison, so that you will be tested. What's he saying? He's saying, guys, you're going to suffer. Now keep in mind that all of this is prefaced by Jesus saying, I'm watching you. I know what you're going through. And I know what you're going to go through. You're going to suffer. He says, but do not fear. You see, we need to understand that fear is one of the greatest deterrents to faith, probably the greatest deterrent to faith. If the enemy can get you to fear what's going to happen, or we can back it up and say, if the enemy can get you to fear what has already happened, and that it may happen again, you know what? That fear will begin to eat away at your faith. So Jesus, in his loving expression, this beautiful letter to the church, is saying, you know what? I know what you've been through, and I know what you're going to go through, but do not fear. Let me just say this to you. You might be looking at the world that's around you, and you might be thinking, this world is so crazy. This world is falling apart. You know, and I believe that if you would stop looking at the world, start looking at Jesus, that he would say to you, don't fear. Don't fear what's happening. Don't fear what has happened. Don't fear what's going to happen. Don't fear. And then Jesus goes on and he says, behold, the devil is about to cast some of you in prison. What's he doing? He's letting these people know that some of you are going to be cast into prison. Some of you are going to lose your life. But then Jesus says this, you're going to be cast into prison so that you will be tested. Let me ask you a question. Is Jesus delighting in their testing? Is he saying, oh, goody, 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 the church of Smyrna is going to be tested? No. But Jesus knows that for those believers who will not fear, who will listen to what he has to say, that testing will only make them stronger. There's a story. It's found in the Fox's Book of Martyrs of a lady that was here in Smyrna. And she was pregnant, and they wouldn't persecute, they wouldn't kill a pregnant woman. So as they're together in this gathering place being held for the death, she prays, she says to the people, pray with me that I will deliver this baby so that I can give my life to Jesus. And you know what happened that night? She delivered that baby. The next day, they put her in a net, and the lions and the bears tore her body until she went on to be with the Jesus that she served. You see, testing will either break a person through fear, or testing will make you stronger. And that's what Jesus knows as he writes to this church at Smyrna. My time is up for today. God bless you until we speak to you again next week.